It's really a big honor to be here, Madame le Recteur, and with friends, some of them well known, and to speak about Europe just after the Day of Europe, even if it was a bit bumpy in sitting here yesterday, but that proves that Montenegrin democracy is lively. It reminded me a bit of our yellow jackets, but this is one of the common things we share with Montenegrins. And it was the opportunity for me to walk some kilometers, so that proves that I was meditating during my walk to reach the European Day reception. And I was telling to myself, it's a long way to Europe, and after all, Montenegrins are waiting since a long time. And I was thinking about the foreword I had written for a small book, which was a small anthology in Macedonian language of Jean Monnet. And I took one quotation of him, that Europe is a long patience. And we should not perhaps abuse of this patience, and this is perhaps my message today. We have to use all the instruments which exist, and they are quite rich. And I am very happy to be here, because this Jean Monnet shares are, I think, very important as a tool for the Europeization of university systems and information. So I am very, very happy to see that the law faculty is taking this tool very seriously. I will go back first to this Erasmus tool, because I like to be concrete. And before going to wider European prospect, perhaps I would insist on the fact that Erasmus should be more used, and not only Erasmus Plus. I was discussing recently with one decan of your faculties, it was chemistry. And she told me about the number of students who were using actually the Erasmus system, and it was extremely low. Well, I know you have the chance to live in one of the most beautiful countries in the world, and it's always difficult to leave family, to leave a familiar environment. Sometimes it's it's a lot of investment to study abroad, and not only money, but effective investment to go out. I think this really should be used more, and I think that professors should really push their best students in this direction. Before thinking about Erasmus Plus, one should think about Erasmus first, and it has created, a new spirit within the European youth, and I think that, as you said, people who were a bit Eurosceptical when they came back from their Erasmus, they have a much wider prospect. And sometimes I would say that Erasmus is the best belvedere to see the things, perhaps in a wider prospect than even the most respectful local traditions or things which can be defended. This said, I am very happy to be here in the law faculty, just to remind that Montenegro for us is solidly on the European path. A lot of work has been done by some very well-known people. First, the ex-Vice Prime Minister, and one of the people who were in the group for the internal trade. So I'm very happy to have to be with people who are more specialized, and this is very important. You have a solid ground. Now it should be more political, because this is one of the risks, to go in this machinery And partially we are responsible for that because there are all these chapters, all these small things, and we think that the European path is just an accumulation of small negotiations. It's true, it's very important, but this is not the essence of what we were building and what we are building. And it's very important to go back to a wider picture. This was the reason for which France pushed to a new methodology, which is now being built here. With the change of government, I think we could do a step forward with the application of this new methodology. Your Vice Prime Minister for European integration was yesterday in Paris, in Quai d'Orsay, in Élysée, discussing how we can help, how you can help yourself, which is perhaps the most important part. We are looking forward to seeing Montenegro as soon as possible in the European Union. This said, this is not only the question for Montenegro, this is a regional question, and it's true that there are some other countries in your neighborhood which will have perhaps more difficulties because the weight of history is what it is. It's difficult to be happy alone, so Montenegro cannot be happy alone in the region, even in succeeding, which I think is very possible in some years. This is very, very important for you as young citizens or less young citizens. But the other thing is about the region. And this is the idea that was floated yesterday, presented yesterday by our president, is how to find to find a way for a political community which would embrace all the countries in Europe who share the same values, and with very practical implications in the field of transport, of all the kind of things that Europeans can provide, and security too, because this dimension is quite essential today. I would not remind you about the tragic consequences of the Russian aggression against Ukraine. This will be discussed in June. This is an idea, a French idea within our presidency. We will not impose it. We are not able to impose it. We have other ideas about reforms, because it's obvious, and President Macron said it already in 2016, it would be very difficult to have new members if we don't reorganize and in our system of decision. So this idea is to go to a system of qualified majority, because there is no interest in widening Europe if it is to create some system which is not able to take decisions, because what citizens expect is decisions. And I always make the comparison with the Holy German Empire, which was, composed of everybody. Everybody had the possibility, more or less, to block, and this construction didn't stand the modernity. So really, in the modern world, what is important, and when we are facing emerging illiberal or non-democratic constructions, is the capacity of democracy to decide, and to decide on the basis of a majority which can be perhaps redesigned in a way in which nobody would feel like under an empire. It's a very complicated European paradox to make efficiency and freedom and equality work, but I stress work. So this is the next work we have. Fortunately or unfortunately, our presidency will end in July, but as you know, our efforts will not diminish. We hope that Montenegro in the next months will go back to a more speedy road to adhesion, because this is the thing, and what we have proposed doesn't concern directly the countries which have started the negotiations. We consider that negotiations have to be fulfilled with the countries which have started it, and please don't go out of this road. The best road is to fulfill the methodology you already have, and you can count on your help for that. In this purpose, we are following very closely, and I speak here in the temple of law and temple perhaps of justice, because you spoke about more cooperation with justice, and I think this practical aspect is very important. We are looking at the efforts which are taking place in these days. They are followed very closely in Brussels. They are followed very closely in Paris, and we will see the fruits, because it's true that it's now time for an internal reorganization, an internal perhaps sanitation of your system, because one speaks about the lack of trust of citizens towards their institutions. European countries are not immune of that, but we cannot build a future Europe in an efficient way, and it was proven by some other integrations, without a very efficient system of justice. And it's true that as soon as people have entered European Union, it becomes very difficult to finish the business. I would not give examples, you have them in your head. So the profit sometimes, and when I was speaking about patience, times and delays, if the delays are used in a practical way, it could be for the benefit of the citizens. And one should balance. So you should have more access, and this is perhaps one of the French conclusions we had when we made the methodology. You should have more access during the time of negotiations to some advantages of European Union, to keep the momentum, to keep the society aware of the benefits. On the other hand, there should be no sales in enlargement, and we should balance these two aspects. I am sure that Montenegro has all the resources, and I am sure that the Erasmus Plus can be very useful for that, and especially these Jean Monnet shares. Thank you so much for your patience.